Welcome to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Prashant Sabapathy and Nick Interbickler of Elite Income Advisors. And to our viewers at home, we're going to be talking about a study that was recently released by the USA Today. What this study talks about is the fact that American workers fear retirement more than death. Fear retirement more than death. We're going to do a deep dive into that today. Prashant, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. And Nick, how are you?
I'm doing great. Not as great as you're doing, because you look great today.
Oh, thank you. Well, you gentlemen look dapper.
Fantastic.
Oh, thank you. You both look amazing today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, this is a very interesting study. I think it's actually a survey that was done, and American workers fear retirement more than death. What do working Americans fear more than death? Retirement. This is interesting. The number one reason that they're saying this, Prashant, I'm going to guide this to you, 60% of people feel that rising costs of long-term care is something that they should be drastically concerned about.
I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, having lived through it, I mean, Nick and I have both kind of lived through this. I've shared on the show several times my mom was diagnosed with dementia when she was just 57 years old. And so by the time she had passed away in early 2024, our family was outputting about $10,000 per month to take care of mom in the house before she passed away. And Cynthia, $10,000 a month is so much money. It's such a huge burden that could be placed on your retirement plan. So I think, look, it's a difficult thing to talk about. Nobody wants to find themselves in that situation, but heaven forbid you do find yourself in that situation. You have to ask the question, how am I going to deal with it? And so to find that 59% of survey respondents said that this was the number one concern as to their fear in retirement, I think it makes perfect sense. And by the way, whether it's $6,000 a month, $8,000 a month, $10,000 a month, it's so much money to have to output. And then let's take it one step further. I mean, we talk all the time about taxation on your retirement accounts. If you had saved all your money into things like your 401k or your IRA or your thrift savings plan, you made a deal with the IRS. And the deal is that you got to take that tax deduction up front so that you would pay the taxes later. So what happens when you need an extra $6,000, $8,000, or $10,000 a month, but all your money's in that pre-tax retirement account? How much are you gonna have to withdraw to net $8,000 or $10,000 a month, right? I might have to take $14,000 or $15,000 just to net the $10,000 that I need to fund my care. And if I'm taking that much money off of my portfolio and the market goes down at the wrong time, I've now seriously put myself at risk of running out of money. And so I think that's why long-term care is a huge issue that if it does not go properly planned for, could be a huge concern. And there's so many different ways to plan for long-term care. I'm sure we can get into that maybe on a different show, but not surprising.
Let me just add, with the rising costs of long-term care, there's a lot of people that don't believe in it. We have a lot of clients that do and that bought these policies, these individual long-term care policies 10, 15 years ago. And those costs are going up. And in Maryland, we're lucky, I guess, that they cap the amount of premium increase that they can charge you on a yearly basis, but it's yearly. They can come back to you every single year and say, hey, next year we're going to raise it. But what I encourage our clients to do is, if you get a notice from your long-term care insurance provider that your premium is going to go up, please bring it to us. If you're not currently a client, you're watching the show and you're concerned about long-term care insurance, bring those concerns to us. If you have a policy, let us sit down and talk, because I find that these things just aren't discussed. And if you're not willing to ask the question, then we can't really help you. But we want to make sure that we're educating you and helping to reduce the 60% of people that are concerned about long-term care costs.
Nick, great point that you just made, because obviously knowledge is power. And the more you know, you can be proactive and do something about some of these fears that people have right now. Nick, this next one, poor investment decisions and losing funds. 52% of people say that they are concerned about that. So poor investment decision, losing funds.
So obviously, if you're invested in the stock market, the market goes up and the market goes down. And the closer you get to retirement, that's a big concern. If I'm going at that goal of retirement and I don't know necessarily how much risk is in my portfolio and I've had bad experience in the past, maybe I've pulled all my money out of the stock market and it's just sitting on the side. But we're not going to grow for the long term and help to worry about inflation and growing above inflation. So again, it comes back to putting a plan together. And sitting in the cash account in your 401k really isn't the best place to be for the long term. But people get burned, right? People get burned and they don't trust, and they think, the market as a whole isn't the right place to be. I had a conversation with somebody the other day about Roth IRAs, and she's like, well, I put money in a Roth IRA and it lost money. I go, well, that's not a function of the Roth IRA. It's a function of what you invested in. So you have to know when you're purchasing an investment, whether it's a mutual fund, a stock, whatever, what are the risks associated with that?
Sure.
And there's a lot of them, but we try to simplify that and educate that. And it's making the right decisions and putting together that plan is important.
Nick, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because how often do you have people that are coming in for the very first time and they're handing you some of their financial information and you ask them, why do you have that? And they're like, I don't know. I was just told that I needed it. Is that something that happens quite often?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lack of, we deal with engineers, we deal with doctors, we deal with lawyers, and some of the smartest people that we've worked with, they get a lot of misinformation, whether it's on the internet, on TV, from their neighbors, the water cooler, whatever. And we try to clear up that fog, because it's something that we do every day. We understand it. I'm not going to go do brain surgery. I'm not going to go, argue a legal case in court. But I know what I know, and I know that I can educate people. And if you don't know what you're buying, your advisor hasn't done a good job of explaining it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Prashant, this next one before we take our commercial break, feeling disconnected from society, 48%, that's almost half polled, feeling disconnected from society is terrifying for these people.
Yeah, I think it is, because look, you're used to doing things the same way for maybe 3 or 4 or even 5 decades before you get to retirement. You're used to going to work. You're used to having social interactions at the office with your coworkers. And when you work with people for a long enough period of time, they're more than just coworkers. They start to actually become your friends, right? And I think like all of us can probably attest to that 100%. As well. And so, transitioning into a different phase of life and having that disconnected feeling is something that our clients tell us about, right? And it's a fearful thing, right? Because it's such a big change. And typically anything that is foreign to us inherently becomes scary to us, right? And so, look, I think that you have to be able to prepare for that in some way. A great way to do that is to not just flip the switch from working to retirement, but maybe you gradually scale into retirement. You go from full-time to part-time, kind of test drive your retirement a little bit, and then fully retire when you feel like you're in a position to do so. So, look, if you have not put that plan together, ultimately the plan is what leads to higher levels of comfort as you get to retirement. So if you haven't put that plan together, I want you to pick up the phone right now and dial this phone number. It's 833-308-5200. Now, when you dial this number, you're going to schedule a free consultation with our team of specialists at Elite Income Advisors. You're going to come into the office and have a conversation. When you come in, you're not agreeing to become a client. All you're doing is having a proactive conversation about where you stand with your retirement planning. Our team will help you put together an income for life plan. It's going to help you map your income out each and every year for the rest of your lifetime. We'll take into account taxes and inflation as a part of that income plan. We'll put together a risk analysis. Risk analysis is going to underscore for you how much risk you're taking with your portfolio. You make the decision as to whether or not you feel it's the right amount. The third thing is going to be a tax analysis. We'll put all your numbers into our tax calculator, give you a projected idea of how much income tax liability you have built in to your retirement portfolio. If you've never gone through this exercise before, now is the time. 833-308-5200. You can also pull out your smartphone and scan the QR code below to book that free consultation.
Prashant, thank you so much. Nick, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number is on your screen, 833-308-5200. You've worked your entire life to get to the retirement years, and you deserve to have peace of mind this is your opportunity to do so. 833-308-5200, or grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to the landing page for Elite Income Advisors, and you can claim your spot accordingly. We're going to take a very short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue with this study that was done by USA Today. So stay tuned.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Prashant Sabapathy and Nick Interbickler of Elite Income Advisors, and we're talking about a study that was done by USA Today that states that American workers fear retirement more than death. Retirement more than death. Let's continue on this. I know it's shocking to me to hear me say that, but it's true.
I thought it was public speaking.
Right? Yeah. I know. That's a big fear as well. Yeah. Absolutely. So the next one I'm going to guide to you, Nick, maintaining desired standard of living.
So I think there used to be an old adage that when you get ready to retire, you should expect to live off about 80% of what you were making when you were working. The way that we look at things is you've worked your entire life to achieve this goal of retirement. And you may very well live in retirement longer than you worked with longevity. So what we plan for instead is more income. And we've never had anybody, as Prashant has said in the past, we've never had anybody tell us we have too much income, right? So we'd rather project for more and not need it than have too little and not have enough, right? So everything now is more expensive than it was 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago. And I don't know if we see any of that changing anytime soon, but you have to take into account healthcare.
Absolutely.
Long-term care, all these different things that are just increasing astronomically. So again, if you project properly and have a plan put together where you're taking into account all of your expenses, the money in, money out that we talk about all the time, then you should be able to live very comfortably in retirement.
Absolutely. And Prashant, there's another actual article that I want to tie into the USA Today, some other health-related concerns, because that's a big one. People are so nervous about getting sick and they're not having the funds to pay for it.
Absolutely.
The cost of medical care, 56% of adults surveyed age 50 and older are concerned about those rising costs. How do you help alleviate?
Look, I think you have to have a good insurance plan in place, specifically when you get to the age of Medicare, which is 65 years old under current law. You'll have the opportunity to get into Medicare Part A, Medicare Part B. But one thing a lot of people forget is that Medicare Part B, original Medicare Part B, comes at a cost, okay? So that's the premium that you pay for Medicare Part B. So oftentimes what you're finding yourself doing is getting original Medicare Part B from the government, for which you pay a premium, but then you have to pair that with like a Medicare supplement plan and a prescription drug plan. I think a lot of people just take for granted that, hey, when I get to 65, I'll go on the government's health insurance and all will be well. And so often we find that that's not the case. You have to coordinate your benefits to make sure that you're minimizing your exposure to out-of-pocket expenses when we get to retirement. So you got to think about copays. You got to think about what your Medicare is going to cost. You got to get the appropriate Medicare supplement plan and prescription drug plan for your unique situation, but you also have to do all that planning proactively, right? You don't want to wait until you're 65 years old and then just make a snap decision because you're under a clock, so to speak, right? And so the more preparation you can do on the front end, the easier it's going to be to actually make that transition into retirement. Just going back to what we said about maintaining your standard of living.
Yes.
At the end of the day, one of the things that we encourage all of the people that come in to visit with us, we encourage you to think about what is your monthly income target. Okay, if you come in to visit with us, that is a question we will ask you. Okay, and that question is going to be, how much income do you need in order to make your lifestyle in retirement as fulfilling as possible? You might not know the answer specifically, but you should have a round number. It could be $4,000, $6,000. I met with someone the other day, told me $15,000 a month is what they needed. And there is no right or wrong. It's going to be unique to you, but you have to plan with the end in mind. So when I hear I want to maintain a standard of living, we have to take that standard of living and translate it into dollars. So start to think about that. And that way, when you come in, we can build a plan around that monthly income target to make sure you have all the income that you could ever want and need when you get to that next phase of life.
Because again, it comes down to enjoying your retirement years. You don't want your clients to say, well, I can sacrifice this, I don't need that. You want them to maintain and even exceed what they currently have now.
I mean, can you imagine? I can't even imagine what it would be like if I sat down with my advisor and they said, when you retire, you have to live on 20% less than you had while you were working. I mean, that sounds ridiculous to me.
So what are you giving up? Amazon, Starbucks?
Exactly. What did I work 40 years to give up 20% of my life? The whole point of retiring is to do all the stuff I never had time to do while I was working. This drives me, if it's not clear, it drives me absolutely crazy.
Yes.
I can't imagine what I would feel if my advisor said, your income, you're going to be forced to live on 20% or 30% less than what you had while you were working. It's just ridiculous to me.
It is. It really, truly is. So, Nick, what it comes down to really is a proper plan to be in place for the retirement years. Talk about the pieces and parts before we take our next commercial break. When we mention a well-crafted, well-designed, holistic retirement plan, what does that consist of in case someone's watching us for the first time?
Well, I mean, simply, as Prashant has said multiple times, it's figuring out what are our expenses. What is the money out? The money in part, you're always going to need that, right? When we're working, it's your salary, it's whatever you have coming in from your job. In retirement, it's something different. But you want to make sure that the money in, of course, exceeds your expenses, your money out. You don't want a gap in that income. So it's, again, proper planning. And the thing that troubles me about this study is that's the thing they're most scared about, more than death. And the questions that we ask are not to pry, but to help you be prepared so that you're ready and you don't have any surprises. We all love traveling. You were telling us about a recent trip you took.
Yes.
How long did you plan for that? People plan extensively for these travels, but they won't take the time out of their day, out of their job, to really sit down and think about what do they need.
It's so often, it's actually, I think people don't give themselves enough credit for the job that they've done saving money, right? Like so many people come in, and one question I always ask is like, let's say you and I are visiting. I said, when do you think about retiring? Like, what is an age that comes to mind? And I hear 67. So, Mr. and Mrs. Client, what if I told you, and I'm not sure if there's a way, but what if there was a way to retire at 62 or 63? Would you do it? And there was a Prashant, of course I would do that, okay? But we just can't do it because we don't have enough saved. But then our team actually gets into the planning and we get into the weeds with their retirement plan. We start to map out their income, optimize their Social Security, show how we can mitigate some tax liability in the future. And you know what that all leads to? Maybe you can retire 2 or 3 years earlier than you ever thought was possible. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen in every single one of the cases when you come in to visit, but I think a lot of people don't give themselves enough credit for the job that they've done. And so when you come in, if there's an opportunity to help you retire earlier, we're going to be able to point that out to you, not just based on our word, but we'll actually put analysis and data into the process so that you can see the proof for yourself. If your advisor has not run that projection for you, or you don't have that simulation in place to feel confident about your retirement timeline, give us a call. That's 833-308-5200. 833-308-5200. You can also scan the QR code below. Book that free appointment with our team. When you come in to visit, you're not agreeing to become a client. You're not agreeing to work with us. All you are doing is getting on track to a retirement that you quite frankly deserve after 30 or 40 years of hard work. As an added bonus, when you book that appointment, scan the QR code, dial the phone number, you'll get a complimentary copy of my book. It's Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth. It's your prescription for income generation, tax management, and financial peace of mind. Call now.
Prashant, thank you so much. And Nick, thank you. To our viewers at home, that number to call is 833-308-5200. Again, we realize you've worked your entire life to get to the retirement years. You deserve the opportunity to have peace of mind. Again, 833-308-5200. Book that consultation, receive a copy of this amazing book. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to ask Prashant and Nick about taxes being on sale. What does that mean? Stay tuned.
Having a true written financial plan provides peace of mind in a way that nothing else really can.
In our job, we want to make sure that we give it to our clients the guaranteed income stream for the rest of their lives so they don't have to worry about what's going to happen.
As a specialist in distribution, we're helping people make sure that their money is going to last for the rest of their lifetime so that they never run out of income, and minimize that tax consequence along the way, and then help transfer that to their heirs in the most tax efficient way.
I think the most important to me in the financial planning is first of all, you need to understand what the client wants. It's all about the client.
So much of what we do at Elite Income Advisors surrounds helping people understand exactly where their paycheck is going to come from, how much it's going to be, and making sure that, most importantly, that it increases through their retirement.
Welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Prashant Sabapathy and Nick Interbickler of Elite Income Advisors. We're talking about some top concerns that retirees had according to the USA Today study. But now I want to ask a very important question. Taxes are on sale. Do you agree? Prashant, what is that about? Taxes are on sale?
Look, I think when you have money in your 401k, your IRA, your TSP, you made an agreement with the IRS that you would put the money in before taxes, like we talked about. And then when you go to retire, you pull the money out. When you pull the money out, you'll pay all of your taxes at that point in time. When we talk about taxes being on sale, what we're really getting to is the sunsetting of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So January 1 of 2026, if there's no extension of the tax code, marginal income tax rates should be going up for the majority of Americans. And by the way, I know that's actually contrary to what we hear, but if you just look at how the tax code is written, it's 100% true. You'll go look at it, you'll verify it, your income tax rates are likely to go up, at least for most of our clients. I am reminded of Ed Slott, right? So
Yes.
Ed Slott, I think a lot of our listeners and viewership knows who Ed Slott is. Brilliant mind as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Interesting quote from Ed Slott. He said the IRA is an IOU to the IRS, right?
That's good.
The IRA is an IOU to the IRS. And so what we have to do is we have to figure out a way to break up with the IRS. And to me, breaking up with the IRS means getting as much money as we possibly can into a tax-free status before we get to retirement. That way, when we go to pull money out of our tax-free accounts, whether it's a life insurance policy that could be tax-free, whether it's a Roth IRA, we know exactly what our income tax liability is going to be. And guess what? It's going to be zero. But the thing is, we have to do the proactive planning to get as much of our money as possible into the tax-free status. And we want to do that while tax rates are low. That's what it's all about.
I love that. So this is a great time for a Roth.
And one of the things about that in relation to maintaining healthcare costs and long-term care costs getting more expensive, if you can eliminate 30% of taxes, Maryland is a pretty high tax rate state, but if you're in a large income bracket and rates are going to go up, and you have to take money out of your 401k or your IRA and pay 20, 30, 40% in taxes potentially, having as much of that money be in a Roth IRA as possible, I don't see enough people taking advantage of that.
Yes.
And over the next 2 years, roughly, or a year and a half, we can do more of that for our clients. And we have been doing a lot of that recently.
And there's actually a really cool tool that we've released. So you can visit this website. It is testmytaxbill.com. That's testmytaxbill.com. When you visit that website, there's actually a tax calculator that can run a report for you. Now, it's just going to show you your potential tax liability on your 401ks, your IRAs, your thrift savings plan over the course of your lifetime, and what taxes may be owed on the inheritance piece of that account when you pass away. So visit testmytaxbill.com, enter in the basic information that it asks for, and then you'll get access to a report that will show you a potential tax projection. But the cool thing is that it not only shows you the potential problem, but it starts to talk about what the potential solution is.
Oh, wow.
And one of the biggest things that we talk about is this idea of converting to a Roth IRA. So you ever been to your financial advisor and you ask them a question about taxes, and what do they say to you?
Don't worry about
I'm
it.
not a CPA.
They either say,
Yeah.
don't worry about it, we'll deal with it later,
Yeah.
or I'm not a CPA, I can't
Yes.
answer your question. Well,
Yes.
look, we heard this so much, tax questions coming in, and we got really sick of saying, go talk to your accountant about it. So one of the things that we did in our practice is we brought in a CPA, Stephanie Marquardt. She's in our office. She deals exclusively with our clients. And what she will help do is project out the solutions to the tax time bomb that you do have ticking in your retirement account. So folks, if you have not thought about taxes, remember, you can only spend net, you cannot spend gross, right? If you haven't thought about the potential tax time bomb that is very well ticking in your retirement accounts, pick up the phone, give us a call. It's 833-308-5200. This is a part of the Retire Smart road mapping process. When you come in to talk about this, it'll be a free consultation with our team. We'll help put together that income roadmap, that tax roadmap, and that portfolio analysis. Great opportunity to get your retirement on track. Starts with that phone call, 833-308-5200. You can also scan the QR code below to book that free appointment.
Prashant, thank you so much. Nick, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us today. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back in 1 week. Take care now.